Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the Jade Gemini. This evening I am super excited to bring you a review of this guy right here. This is the Spyderco Para 3 Lightweight in 15V. And so today what we're going to do is talk about what I like, what I love, what I dislike, and if it applies, what is rubbish about this pocket knife right here. Now, before we go ahead and do that, let's go and get some size comparisons out of the way. So first, we're going to go and be comparing it to one of the most ubiquitous knives that there is in the world, and that is the Swiss Army knife. 91 millimeter, both open and shut. So as you can see, this is a small, non-threatening, compact blade that's been around for generations, but this isn't too much bigger. The handles look bigger. You know, the blade is a little bit bigger, but on the cutting edges are kind of more similar because there's this choiled and ricasso area. But again, not a huge knife. Next, we're going to compare it to the Manix 2 or Manix 2 Lightweight in this situation, which is similar in size to a PM2 and roughly to the Ritter Hogue, a full-size knife, while this is a more compact knife. So you can see it's definitely scaled up here, you know, in every way. Blade cutting edge, though, is still a little longer, but, you know, respectable, and this kind of curves up. So if you maybe straighten this blade out, it actually kind of get kind of similar, definitely longer. And the last thing we're going to do is compare it to what I can when it comes to the bug out a scale, because I don't own any Benchmade. But you can see what we have here with the overall length. So we're actually coming closed and right around the side of the Benchmade bug out, but open, the blade is definitely smaller because of this choiled area here. So without that, let's go ahead and get that out of the way. So we're going to jump in, talk about, like I said, our normal stuff. I'm also going to touch on the steel. This is more so a review of the Para 3, but because this is in 15V, we are going to touch on that. So let's jump right in. So the first thing that I like about this knife is that this is a Spyderco. Now that might seem like a strange, silly statement, but that actually holds something, that means something. You know, with Spydercos, you are going to understand that there is a sort of air of consistency, right? They are a big knife company, and they've got things down pat when manufacturing the knife. Here it is also in width. It's also about the same width as a regular Para 3, as a matter of fact, if you're wondering about the width. And of course, the blade stock is the exact same with its taper. But as mentioned, you're going to understand that certain things are done right. The screws are done right and hardened. You know, take the knife apart. You're also going to be having things as well that are sorted out, like, you know, ergonomics and things like that. Heat treats are also going to be good on Spydercos, are actually some of the best. You know, there's a consistency to the knife that you're going to get something that's going to be quality. The edge is not going to be funked up and curled at the end, right? Or, you know, really messed up in any sort of super reasonable way. So that's definitely something to like when you're buying a knife that you want to go ahead and last. So that's the first thing to go ahead and like here. Second thing that I do like about this knife that is kind of a Spyderco is they're not just unique, but I remember they're one of the first that I remember seeing is this wire pocket clip. Spyderco really kind of pushed this and are proud of this, and you know, put on the lightweight models. And it's a fantastic clip, right? Because it's got such a small surface area, but they do a hardening and a good job where it doesn't roll, it doesn't like move back and forth. It's just as solid as a normal clip is. But when you put it in the pocket, the knife disappears, not only because it's deep carry, because on this model, they put the pocket clip all the way up here, which is an improvement over the regular Para, but you know, and a deep carry is all the way through with the screw in the middle. but also like once you put material here, it just disappears because you just see these thin lines and they're kind of silver, right? You're not going to really see that compared to something that's like a big clip that's, black or titanium or something like that. It's like a big clip that you can see. So that's another thing. It's also extremely easy out of the pocket. There's no hot spots whatsoever with this clip. When you get it in hand, it's absolutely incredible, amazing, just melts, right? Feels super comfortable. You're able to easily get it over the pants because of this button head screw that's here. Doesn't catch at all in and out of the pocket. It doesn't get stuck. It's just simple, done right. Perfect. So another thing really, really to like. Another thing to like, and this might be late news to some, but the fact that you can disassemble this, reassemble it 100 times. It's built well to do so, and it doesn't void any warranties with the knife itself, which is something that in the past used to be a problem with Spyderco knives, but has since been rectified for a couple years now. So all things to like about the knife as a whole, right? The knife itself is a Spyderco, which means something, right? It also has a great pocket clip, which is in the style of pocket clip is one of those Spyderco-isms again, um, as well as like we were saying, kind of built really well, like you would expect something like a Sabinza or something like that, that you can disassemble it, reassemble it. The parts are not going to strip. Everything's made very well, going to last you. It's going to be a knife that even though it's a lightweight version, you can hand down, pass on. So all things to like. Now I'm kind of throttle plating myself here because realistically there is just a ton to love about this knife because it is a Para 3 in its DNA. But is it better than the regular Para 3? Well, so the first thing to go ahead and love about the Para 3 lightweight is all things to love about the Para 3. But just to paraphrase, right, that Spyderco thing I was talking about, with Spydercos, people say they look kind of ugly when you first get them. And when you get them in hand and understand them and their reasoning behind it, they say Spydercos are designed in the dark, which means they don't care about realistically how they look. They care about how it feels in the human hand. What is the user experience of getting that blade and the different sort of things that you could use this knife for, right? What does that look like? So that means not only do you have the finishing, the hardened screws, the great heat treat, the consistency of the grinds, but you get other things like some of the best ergonomics on the planet, right? A knife that is smaller, but it fits in the hand with a 4-finger grip. You can choke up, choil out, right? You can do power cuts as well. Again, as you saw, you can get up and get your fingers so you can dip that tip inside of the package. Also, speaking of that tip, you have it when you're holding the knife. Instead of the blade being flat out like you get with some knives, it is actually slightly canted down. So it's actually dipping this belly into the tip of a package, and you barely rock your hand, and you maintain, like Neve's knife says, your cutting power. You're pushing down into what you're doing like this and cutting down into that package. You don't have to compromise and do like this to get a drop point. You barely move forward and you are dragging that tip only in that package. All amazing things thought about the cutting performance of a tool. Another thing that is so amazing is their tapered grind that they have on their knives. So not only do you have it where the knife has this really nice belly, but like you think about it, it's got a little straight and a little belly, unlike the leaf-shaped blade that I love so much that is a constant belly, right? And it's a drop point. This is a little bit different in shape, right? Has more belly here, right? But you still get a situation where, again, you barely angle down, you cut through. But that also means that you're able to roll into cuts. It also means if you need to cut an apple, right? Cutting like that. But what's so amazing is this is still a user knife. The Para series, the paramilitary series is all about that. So you have a thinner tip to get through material that you would more finely cut in this area, like vegetables, rope, things like this, right? Also packages, right? You don't want a lot of material being caught up. You want that fine tip going in. So it thins out here when you need it. But if you need to whittle, if you need to like cut through a if you need to cut through a zip tie, right, you're going to get that blade in there, get it in that thick area. Well, now you have a thick, robust, thicker edge back here that you can use to power and to wedge apart. So you have tough and you have precision all in one blade, and it follows the use case of the blade itself. So not only does it roll like this, but it also is cut like this. These are these Spyderco nths that you have, right? You not only have that, but with the lightweight, which is of course a thing to like, that makes it, now you're starting to get even better than the Para 3, right? You have what I love, because again, it is Spyderco at its core. I love Spyderco. I'm being a spaz, apologize. But in this sort of way, you have this bi-directional volcano grip, right? So this is definitely not, like Nick would say, not going anywhere in the Spyderco factory. And this harks back to the evolution. And the other thing that you love about Spyderco, the CQI, are constant quality improvement, where they design and change and adapt and learn, right, with their knives itself. So this comes directly from the Delica and the Endura, which is when I think Spyderco, I go bang. Those are the Spydercos, right? Bang. Those are the original OGs. So this texture, why some people say it's plastic, why would I really want too much else, right? This is perfection. Like for a tool that is used to cut, not to look flash, not to have Timascus, not to have zirconium, and things like that, which are great and cool, and I love that. But Spydercos are more so like a Glock, right? You might say, hey, that looks a little ugly compared to my super flash 365 that has gold plating compensator and a magwell flare and a red release button, ooh, right? No, it's just a tool. Bang, ergonomics, get it in hand. It's going to work every time. Go, Glock, right? So Spyderco is much in that sort of way where it is a tool. So this fits more to me in the philosophy of use of what makes Spyderco so amazing. And so I really like this. A lot of technology going on. There is little ribs and cuts down here, for not only for lightning, but strength. You know, this isn't flexing like a bug out scale would, right? So that's also amazing. So all things to love. I'm giving a lot to you, right? All at once, but you know, great jimping, great ergonomics, choke up choil, back choil. You know, you also on the lightweight scales are getting a heavier contouring, so that feels slimmer, even though it's the same width, and you get these really nice heavy contoured right here that's more comfortable instead of the blocky, flat G10 scale from the regular Para 3. So I like this more, and it's lighter, and not like, it's 9% lighter, guys. No, this thing is like 2.2, 2.7 ounces, something ridiculously lightweight, right? 2.5, 2.7. It is a featherweight, right? If you're below 3 ounces and a good margin below it, this is nothing, right? Incredible. And that means it's also better to carry. Also, as you've seen, it has an amazing action, which is, of course, one of the most important things. If you are a knife enthusiast, you're going to spend probably 70% of your time fidgeting the thing and 30% of the time actually cutting stuff, right? And that even might be an exaggeration on that number. So that's another thing to love. And also what comes to that fidgetability is the greatness of the compression lock. Again, another Spydercoism. Their patent has just expired, so now companies like Vosti are making amazing examples of the compression lock as well, with their top liner lock or button lock. But still, Spyderco is the original one that had the patent on it, and they are awesome. So you get the best of all worlds. You get a detent that, unlike a mushy you know, or super firm, like they do an amazing job on this, but like a mushy axis lock or that has very lightweight, you're just throwing the inertia of the blade. This you preload up and bang, fires out, you know. You also have the amazing spider hole, which is so convenient just to find, whether it is a slow controlled roll in a respectful manner, or you are doing fidgety fun stuff. I'll stop because some people complain about the fidgeting. I love it. It's important to me, but I'll digress. But yeah, another amazing thing. It also means that there is a wedge between the blade stock on the bottom, the stop pin that's really big and thick and beefy on the top, and the liner lock, instead of this little thin thing, is this thick piece of steel that traps its way in between this bottom part of the knife blade and this stop pin, compressing it. So you have to bend and compress that steel liner that was shoved in there and constantly tensioned in, meaning this is a very strong lock as well, stronger than your liner lock, which, you know, again, people comparing lock strengths is ridiculous as is. But, you know, again, it's nice. It also means that you can get your finger out of the way, whether you're a lefty or a righty. You don't have to have your finger in going inside like this and then doing like this. You simply grab and swing, and you can safely, oh, I cut something, cut this rope, okay, and put it in my pocket, not even thinking about it, just automatic, right? And that is what's so amazing about the Para 3. It's just the whole package. Every little nth and thing has been thought out in the Spyderco way. Let's talk about those heat treats. So this also, in a very Spyderco way, that makes it, again, amazing, has Spyderco partners with the newest steels and some steels that are really crazy, like Rex 121, Rex 45, Z-Ware. They have their Mule team. They have all this crazy stuff, right? K390 is one of the ones that they do. You know, ZDP back in the day, they were one of the few companies to do that. So what they're doing now is they're actually working with the Big Brown Bear, which is a YouTuber, and like Laren Thomas, he knows a lot about knife steel compositions, the understanding, the metallurgy of it, and basically he has given on 15V, which is a crucible powder metallurgy steel, a high performance super carbon based, all carbon, but you know, high carbon content knife steel, a heat treat that gets it to some crazy like 66, 67 Rockwell, which a normal knife like this 154 cm is like 5960, and that's like the hardness of the knife. Harder means that you can have more wear resistance, but if you get too hard, it gets fragile like a dinner plate and chips and gets untough. But if it's too soft, it's like Play-Doh. It doesn't hold an edge. It goes soft very soon, like wood. Imagine cutting with a wooden knife. It gets dull immediately. So you need that fine balance. And with this is having enough toughness that you can use it for like EDC lightweight knife things, like cutting boxes, right? But has an insanely high heat treat where you have Cedric and Ada getting 2,100, I believe, cuts of twisted style rope, which is an ungodly amount of cuts. Might be 1,900, but regardless, right? By comparison, the amazing 154 cm, and I mean that truly, it's an amazing, super balanced steel that I'm in love with because it's easy to strap. But you'd probably expect 120 to 160 cuts with this. 2,000, 160 of twisted sisal rope. So that means that if you're just cutting tape, bubble packages from Amazon, the more knife boxes, the tape on the edge, maybe cutting some cardboard, right? Maybe the occasional just straight cut in to a zip tie, right? Clamshell packaging that things come in. You you know, again, if you're doing like maybe 2, 3 cuts a week, like I do with just like an Amazon package here and there, right? You might never need to sharpen this, right? You might go 7 years and still have a screaming edge. And also, the Spyderco edge here is a screaming, one of the craziest sharp. You're touching it and it's splitting, right? But this would actually split hairs. It's one of the sharpest factory edges, if not the sharpest factory edge that I've ever felt. So 15V, also, it hasn't been like, I looked at you, I breathed on, wow, it's rusting, it's in for, right? Like, I've touched this, I've carried it in my pocket, you know, I haven't gotten wet. I don't get my knives wet. I don't touch it with wet hands. But you know, again, living here in Florida, it's been cold, so it hasn't been like mega hot or sweaty. But still, Florida humidity, going in and out of houses, you know, inside of buildings, outside of buildings, in my pocket. I oiled it with Corrosion X as soon as I got it. It's been like, you know, a while. Haven't oiled it since, and it isn't rusting. Right? Keep it dry. Don't get it wet. Isn't rusting. So also a really great steel. Also, this one has an amazing stone wash all over it. Love that. Really cool. Usually Para 3s are going to be satin or DLC. But I digress. So anyways, yeah, so many incredible things. All improvements, in my opinion. Also, the other thing that I do love is even though this is a different model and it's not compatible with the linered versions of the Para 3, the Para 3 Lightweight has some mild third-party customization, which is cool. So you have Lynch clips you can get. You have amazing advanced weapon technologies, amazing aluminum or aluminum scales that are milled, like these gorgeous scales on this Spydie that I love so much. So that's a cool thing. But you also have titanium scales that are kind of floating around out there. And also the engineering of it, right? The engineering, you know, again, is one of those things that you just expect from Spyderco. So this, in a very weird way, has a bar that is bolted into this plastic and molded and then sandwiched, and that makes the lock. And then for the stop pin to be solid, they have a one-sided that goes around the pivot and cradles this stop pin steel cartridge liner that just sits right here. Keeps it lightweight, doesn't go the whole way. So you have one steel piece for the lock, one steel piece for the reinforcement, one phosphor bronze washer, kind of weird, and then plastic, you know, like a nylon washer, right? Would be like, you know, something like that on the other side, and you get this amazing smooth action, which doesn't. Sorry, kind of sweating, don't want to touch it, but it doesn't have any light play. Like I'm actually like, you know, getting it where I'd be cranking on it and no play. So this is like a perfect knife, guys. Like perfect, right? Like it's hard because the Manix has like more grippy, more aggressive, flatter, straighter ergonomics, right? Bigger, more aggressive tool to lock you in, so it feels nice. But this is like a little smoother and smaller and easier to carry and lighter weight. It's just different strokes for different folks, but they're both amazing and they're both perfection. And this is definitely a GOAT plus, in my opinion. But I can understand if you like the G10 version. I'm not going to argue with that. It's amazing and deserves respect as it is. But just like the pocket clip, the more contouring, the grip that I personally love, that feels like advanced polymer, like a firearm instead of like cheap plastic, right? That kind of thing. You still get the amazing blade from the Para 3. And this one, you know, again, even enhanced with that, just I'm using it as a cutting tool with the steel. However, this is not just a Spyderco fanboyism, which it has been so far. The thing that is rubbish. Oh, price on this is like a good price. You know, they're like 112 for the one BDN. And then they have like a really cool version, which is like 140 or 150, which is Spy 27. That's the one I would go with. They also have a magnet cut version. That's definitely the one I'd go with. I think that's like 170. And then this came at like a very respectable 150 with sprint run, right? So like the value's there too, right? Now you could say get the plastic knife, but there's a lot of engineering. It's a Spyderco at the end of the day. This is not haphazardly done. However, the thing that I would skip, dislike, and go right into rubbish, which I don't do rubbish hardly in any of my videos, is that this is a one-off. Spyderco has CQI, the constantly quality improvement that gets better. But I've had two other Para lightweights. I had the first one, BDN, that had massive blade plate. This one's also perfectly centered. Wow, wow. The other one was so bad it was almost touching the liner on the BD1 version. And I could not remove blade plate no matter how tight. I got it either so tight I could barely open it. It was like that, like muscle magnet power. You couldn't flick it, or it would be like this, but it would be moving back and forth. You know, again, you could like grab it and move it here really easily back and forth. This isn't even moving really. Yeah, gosh, that is not moving. That's great. So yeah, that is not great, right? And then I got a second pair of three, Saint Nick's 4V red and black DLC. That's such a cool knife. And it had up and down blade lock play, right? And the other issues we were talking about, like so bad it was almost hitting the side of the liner and couldn't get the blade play away, couldn't get the up and down play away. So I'm hoping vehemently that Spyderco's got it right. And every single one that you're going to get is going to be like this, like a pair of three, like in its fullest. The quality, the toughness, the reliability, the robustness, the repeatability, the longevity, right, of the knife itself. I'm really hoping that Spyderco has figured out how to get it right. But I just can't 100% say that, hey, if you buy it somewhere, make sure you could return it if you're going to pick one of these up. I wouldn't pick one up on the secondary market unless it's like one of these and somebody you trust and like, no, it's good. I just used it. I didn't like the lightweight, but it's like brand new in box. It has no up and down blade play. It has no pivot lash. That's the other thing where it was like closed and up and down on the St. Nick, right? Like pretty bad pivot lash. So I would definitely get it somewhere that you could return it and not be penalized or pay a stocking fee, because I haven't had all the new ones in hand to be able to reliably sit here and say, as great as this knife is, that you're not going to get one with pivot lash or up and down blade play on lock or uncurable side to side blade play, and it's going to have this amazing buttery smooth compression lock, amazing fidget with no play whatsoever, that has got a perfect blade. You get the point, right? So that's the rubbish part. However, I would say if you've been interested in this knife, you like the idea of a pair three, the goat, not ironically, but like one of the goats, right? Exactly, worth everything, all the praise, everybody gets it. And you like the idea of maybe a lighter weight one, more contour, that feels thinner, carries thinner, is using thinner. Absolutely pick one of these up, but be forewarned, get it somewhere that has a lackadaisy return policy, no questions asked. We want to make sure we satisfy our customers. ABC, right? So I'm going to stop rambling. I was super excited to make this video as I'm a big fan of Spyderco, and this knife impressed me infinitely. The Martin's also sick. So it's, I mean, any of these are. But anyways, I really appreciate you guys taking time to watch my small little channel and me ramble off about pocket knives, right? Crazy world. And there's so many other great channels that you could be watching. Also, if you have any questions, please go and leave them down below, as I love fellowshipping with you guys and answering anything that you have. Also, if you like this kind of content, not just Spyderco, pocket knives in general, other EDC gear, all sorts of things, the best hobby to have, and other ones, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like, as it really helps the channel. Of course, I can't thank you enough for taking time to watch this video. Hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Take care and stay safe. Peace.